Well, welcome to another Stuck in a Rut podcast. This is Tom Schneider. I'm here with Taylor with 360 Sportsman, and this we want you guys to get comfortable with this because Taylor and I we're going to do something a little bit unique, where we're actually going to be both the host for a large portion of these upcoming episodes, and so. Taylor, let's explain a little bit about what's going on. I'll pass it on to you here.
Yeah, I'm excited, Tom. This is going to be a good opportunity for us to bring in some of the best experts in the world in the outdoor industry, not just hunting, but fishing and other areas. And what I think of is kind of like a lodge. Like you got like your main outfitter's lodge, or you got a place where you got people coming in from all different backgrounds and sitting down. And so that's kind of what this show is marked as is the lodge, where you're going to hear people from across the outdoor industry in hunting, fishing, winter sports, water sports, survival. There are so many different facets to the outdoor industry. And by bringing in the world's best experts and those who are leaders in conservation and wildlife management, you're going to become a much better sportsman. Even if you never join 360 Sportsman, just hearing from some of these people could really change how you think, how you behave, what you do out in the field. So Tom and I are excited. We hope that this builds some value for you and that you're able to take and run with it wherever you go.
Yeah, and I think it's really important to mention because the one thing it was right before we just started this podcast, we were talking a little bit about what the term influencer means, and it's going to be a very hot topic because that's what we're going to talk about today. Is influencers, are they good or are they not good? For the hunting industry, I think you can fall between those lines, in any way, shape, or form. So, but like what Taylor is saying too, it's just I love the fact that we want to bring experts here. We don't want to bring people in that, we were jokingly talking about fitness trainers, for example, how, you go online and you get these advertisements all the time of, oh, you shouldn't eat bananas. And then you have one guy saying you should eat bananas, or you have a guy who's like, oh, you shouldn't be drinking water. And it's like, oh, you should be drinking. So you have all these, what you would so-call experts, and there's just a lot of information online and everybody's an expert, right? And so even I was talking to my brother the other day, my younger brother Trevor. He's just like he said himself, he doesn't trust influencers anymore. And I'm like, well, Trevor, we're influencers, like you are too. And so there's this. It's tough to find out who you can trust and who you can't trust. And I hope to be able to shed some light with you guys because one of the biggest goals with Stuck and Rut from the beginning is to be true and honest with the people who follow us and watch us, because our integrity is more important than money, and it always has been. It's been since the beginning. So I hope that we could shed some light on this podcast. But yeah, any thoughts on that, Taylor?
Yeah, it's funny because it was like yesterday or the day before, my wife and I were talking about meat. I had seen this post that was like, what are the most healthy meat? And at the very top was elk, and then it was bison, and then it was like deer, venison. And then she's like, "Oh, really? Well, let's see." And then she like pulls up a search, and at the top is bison, and then it's elk, and then it's venison. And just that alone, so like you can't you can't trust what's out there sometimes when there's so many different voices, but from that search and from what I saw, we were able to glean a couple things like, hey, at least we know like the top three healthiest meats are venison, bison, and elk. Who cares what order? At least we know that they're healthy.
Yeah, wild game at least. Yeah.
Yeah, and as you're talking about like influencers and not some people really want to be an influencer. Some people don't want to be an influencer, but they naturally are an influencer whether they like it or not. And I think a lot of experts would rather not call themselves an influencer, even though they might have some of the loudest voices and the most influence in the industry. So let's lay the foundation. I love to start with defining terms and pulling up dictionaries. So your Merriam-Webster dictionary of influencer is one who exerts influence, a person who inspires or guides the actions of others. A person who is able to generate interest in something, such as a consumer product, by posting about it on social media. And then another definition is someone whose primary value comes from their reach and visibility, not necessarily from long-term field experience or accountability. So, a couple different definitions itself and what an influencer is. Just kind of general and broad. It's someone who's inspiring or guiding the actions of others. And you take an expert and you put that expert out there, you give them a microphone. An expert has a lot to share about their knowledge, their experience in the field, and how they guide someone through their actions. Tom, what do you think? Like, is that good or is that bad?
Yeah, well, the thing is, it's tough because there's a lot of there. I mean, and I'm saying legit experts that still have opinions, and it's always important to understand what is facts and what's an opinion. Believe it or not, I've even had wildlife biologists give opinions, like actually not have concrete information. And what happens with opinions is they become, I won't use the term doctrine, but they become truths. Like people now think this opinion is truth because it came from the mouth of an expert. And so it's yeah, but then going back to um, podcasts, I feel like, there was a time where if someone was going to be on national television, they had to have some form of credibility. Now, literally anybody can run a podcast. Anybody can do a YouTube channel. And so it is really tough to define, who's an expert and who's not. And I think that's really what it comes down to is getting to know the people that are selling you the product. And if you don't know them in a way, like let's say you get a pop-up ad and you don't know this person. I mean, my what I would say, this is my I'm telling you an opinion. My personal opinion is to not follow that ad. If some guy you've never met before, you've never seen videos of him, like, there's nothing that gives you credibility about this individual. And now he's telling you to stop eating bacon or to stop doing what you're doing financially, and he's trying to give you financial advice. It's like, well, do you know this guy? Do you know of people that have had good experiences with them? Do you know, like, there's a lot that goes on. And sure, even the best people out there, you're still going to get a bad review no matter how good you are. The bad reviews still come up. But it's just what I always say is just like, if you're going to trust someone in the industry, it's not a bad word. People have made it a bad term. I'm like, yeah, I'm an influencer. I mean, that's not what my original intention was, but technically, I guess we fall under the lines of an influencer, that we do advertise products. But for us, and I guess in some way you'd have to trust me when I say this, right? Or maybe hopefully you've watched enough of our videos to gain trust from us, that we're only going to use products that we like. And we can get into it more later in this podcast, but we've actually have turned down money. I've had companies that have offered really good money, and we have turned it down because we didn't like the product. And we knew that if we just couldn't live with ourselves if we marketed a product that we didn't like ourselves. And now we're telling our followers and our viewers, and I don't even consider our followers or friends. Anyone who's following us, someone who's been, following our videos for years, I consider you guys friends, and people who trust us. And I want to make sure that we don't lose that trust. I'd rather you not buy a product from us at all and to keep your trust. And so if we ever advertise a product, and some companies may not like it, but we have shared the good and bad. of a product. And that sometimes is hard for a company because they don't want to hear the bad. They don't want to hear the pros and cons. And so we're very open with that ourselves.
We've had quite a few people that have reached out to 360 to do master classes, and there's been different companies. Um, I try not to like do any call outs or anything, but just they have wanted to teach a master class. And I'm like, okay, so like what would that be on? And they're like, well, it would be about like how to use this product. I'm like, oh, so you just want to create a master class just to sell your product? And like, well, it would teach them good stuff like about like that field of interest. I'm like, okay, but you're expecting them the whole like crux of the class to be about buying that product, and if they don't, it's worthless. Like the class is worthless. Like how are you expecting to get people to even want to join that master class itself and get value out of it?
Yeah.
And it just, we've turned that kind of stuff down. We're like, we're not gonna do that. Obviously there's gear and stuff that you need, equipment for the field
Mm-hmm.
that you might take out hunting that you really enjoy, and that's like your favorite stuff that people are asking like, hey Tom, what do you have in your hunting pack? What clothing do you like and all that stuff. And whatever you've tried, tested, that's what you are going to be most inclined to want to share because you get those questions all the time. And
Mm-hmm.
so talk about like what you use and what you like. That's not a problem, especially if that brand is supporting you. Like there there's no problem with that if it's true and genuine like you're talking about. Like you've put in the time with it, and you're not going to recommend something to people where you're going to get compensated for it and it's not good. Like it's a failed product or it's not great for the usage situations. So I feel like the influencing can be used for good or for bad,
Mm-hmm.
and how it's used is the primary issue that people have been up against.
It's a catch 22 too because there's some products where I know they're close. Like I know like it's like there's some companies that I consider they're like okay, but they're not the best yet. And I've even told them like you need to, as soon as you make these changes, I will promote you. And I'm not going to trash talk you online. If people personally ask me like, "Hey, what's your opinion on this product?" I might say, "Yeah, I'd hold off on that. Like I'd stick to this product instead." But the only reason why I do veer off of, because for one, I'm like, every company has to go through its struggles. I remember, and I'm just going to say this company out loud because right now they are a really good product, QU. I love wearing QU products. But I remember when QU first started out, their products were failing left to right. Like almost all my gear ripped on the first hunt, you know. But they were very quick and innovative. They're like, okay, well that zipper's not working, time to get a new zipper. Oh, that fabric's not working, time to get new fabric. Oh, that down coat that we made, come to find out it's really flammable. Let's make it less flammable. And so I remember those and every company has to deal with those hiccups, right? And so for me, I'm not like one to quickly track, oh, this company sucks. Like where it comes down to is like, okay, that company like every company has to start off with some hurdles. But the question is where are they going? And I always saw QU quickly, and we don't. And to let you guys know, we're still not sponsored by QU. We use QU hard, and there's closing companies that have offered to pay us. We refuse because QU has been the only product we've known to handle the Alaska weather well. And now it's, as we know, and a lot of people know now, it's changed hands. Well, we just hope and pray that it still holds its quality, with that. And um, and I saw some backlash on that today. Somebody asked me online, and he's like, "Hey, what's your opinion on QU now that they sold out?" And I'm like, honestly, I don't have an opinion yet because we don't. Everything's still the same. Things are so new, right? Like it's changed hands. Are they going to still be innovative? Are they not? We don't know. But as of right now, they're still one of my favorite products to use. And the thing is, and this is the truth, the honest truth, that if I start finding out that the product's losing its value, like its quality, I will jump ship. I am not married to a product. And that is probably hard for people to hear, of companies to hear for sure. But even taxidermists, that's hard for taxidermists here because almost every time we kill an animal that we want to get mounted, it ends up in a different taxidermy shop. And some taxidermists want to be called we're the I do all the mounts for Stuck and Rut, you know, and we like to share the love with taxidermists. That's the one thing I've always said. Is so it's like sometimes I'm like, ooh, this guy did a. I'll see online. This guy did an incredible mount on a mule deer. I want him to do my mule deer mount. I seen this guy do a really cool mountain lion mount, so I want him to do my mountain lion. And it's the same thing with other products too. Like I'm not opposed in trying, and that's I mean that's the reality. That's the only way we know that what a product's good or bad, right? Is to try new products. Now, have I tried every boot in the industry? No. Have I tried every pack in the industry? No. But when I hear of a new pack out or a new boot out and I hear really good reviews from someone I trust, I'm willing to give it a shot. And I'll give another example. So Hoffman boots. Travis and I have been using Hoffman boots for close to 10 plus years. And, you know, in midway through that time, um, we tried a boot in the middle. I won't say the name, but we found out we didn't like the boot. And so we flopped back to Hoffman. You know, Travis, even in the video, so he did a recent video when we were on a mule deer hunt, where Travis just gave an honest gear review about Hoffman boots. He said, you know, he's like, this is what I love about Hoffman boots. This is what I don't like. But they're still our favorite boots to wear hunting. Even though, and I'll give the same review he did, is that it has incredible grip on rocks. The downside is that grip wears out quicker. It just, you know, so like for the amount of hiking we do tons of hiking. I go through a pair of boots a year. You know, like you're never going to find a product that's perfect. You know what I mean? There's always going to be something you don't like about the product. And there's always room for growth. Hunting packs, it's the same thing. I tell you what, it's such a big industry with hunting packs. You're going to see people like, oh, I can pack this much and this much. And it really comes down to, well, for one, who do you trust? And for two, what pack works best for you? Because even to this day, you know, with our family, you know, we have a lot of people in Stuck and Rut. We have our, you know, speaking of this, we have our own jobs. And so that's another reason why it really helps us in not being desperate. I feel like that's a lot of it with influencers. They're desperate to make money. And so they're willing to take anything they can get. We have our own jobs and occupations outside of the hunting space. When a company doesn't want to give us the right deal, we don't work with them. We're like, okay, like, you know, like there's products that honestly we're better off just buying. And a lot of that has been like that. So it's like, if some company's like, oh, we'll give you free gear, but we want you to do all this advertising for us. I'm like, honestly, I'll just work and I'll just buy the product, you know? But here's where the downside is when advertising for free. So you know, we started the first 10 years with Stuck and Rut. We wanted to try to avoid the whole influencer thing. It was a swear word in our vocabulary as well. And so, but we wanted to be real and authentic to people with our hunting videos, right? Showing DIY public land hunts. And I feel like we were one of the first on the YouTube channel showing those things because previously to that, we were watching the Sportsman channel. We were seeing a lot of people doing high fence hunts. No, nothing against people that purchase, you know, spend lots of money to do a hunt like that or any big hunt. But it's like, I feel like it takes the professionalism out of it when you're paying somebody to help you hunt. Like there's a percentage of your professionalism that's taken out of it, right? Because somebody else is helping you. And so when we started our DIY public land YouTube channel, we wanted to stay real and authentic as we could. We didn't want to advertise products. And we were honest. We'd show products like, oh yeah, you want to buy this gun, buy this gun. If you want to wear this pack, wear this pack. But we just refused money. The problem was with that, is that these companies were benefiting from us and we weren't getting any money in return. And to us, that wasn't fair. That wasn't fair that I love wearing this gear. And here I am, we are spending thousands of dollars on camera equipment. This computer that I'm looking on, that's a $5,000 computer. And guess what? It's outdated every 5 stinking years. And so I have to buy another $5,000 computer to edit stuck and rut videos. Where's that money? And so we had to realize, okay, we have to do something with these companies. But let's only, and this has been an agreement throughout the family, we're only going to work with companies that we already like the product. It's a product that we've already used. And one of those companies is Onyx, So Onyx is a company that we've been using since the beginning of time, long before it was an app. Back when it used to be a GPS, a handheld GPS, and you plug in the chip. We've been using Onyx for years. And I will be honest in saying I have other mapping apps that Onyx that have better features than Onyx. But Onyx is still our top app that we use. I'll use the example of Google Earth. So if you go to Google Earth, the clarity is way better than any program out there. Sometimes I need to actually, if I look on Onyx, I really like Onyx because it gives me very accurate, not 110% accurate, but sometimes if you're looking at a property line, because I do a lot of work too, not just with the hunting, but when I'm working in the woods, sometimes it's a couple steps off from the property line, but you get the gist of where the property line is, right? And so, but the one thing I love with Onyx is it doesn't fail me. I would have a lot of companies or a lot of other apps that they'd glitch on me, and then I'd download these maps, I'd go on a hunt, and the maps would disappear. And I'm like, well, great, now where do I go? And Onyx has always been really good off-grid for us. We download it, and it's always there. And so what I like with Google Earth, I like to do pre-scouting with that before I go on a hunt. I like to go on my computer. I like to find drainages, find wallows, elk wallows, so on and so forth. What's interesting is I use another app. It's called Topo. And it shows, and it's like old school Topo. It shows old trail systems, and I feel like the grid, it shows the topo way better than any other app that I know. It shows the topo in very detailed lines. So right now on my phone, I have 4 mapping programs on my phone, but Onyx is my favorite. And so Onyx, we reached out to them, and they do help us. They do supplement our hunting expenses. And so that's a company we decided to work for because we've used them for over a decade. We love the product. We didn't just jump in and say, hey, I've never used Onyx before, but we'd like to get paid. What can we do to push your product? Now, if you've watched our videos for years, we've always used it even before we were sponsored by them. And I think that's what's important. It's because we like it to be fair. It's a two-way street, right? I don't want to work for free. When we're saying, and people do want gear reviews. People are like, hey, we want gear review. And it's like, well, I got a job. I don't have time to do these gear reviews, but I'm more than happy if a company is willing to help out with these gear reviews. I'm more than happy to share. But on top of that, I want to be real, and I don't want to just show the products that we're sponsored by. I want to show products that we're not sponsored by too. But like I said, it's just the problem is you have to look at that our time is valuable in a way. People, and we're talking about this a little bit earlier too. Is I'm finding out more and more on how sensitive a fair amount of hunters are, and a lot of hunters we claim to be conservative, but some have very liberal views. And I'll use the example of wanting things for free, right? People want free information. They're like, I want this information for free. You should just give it to me. And it's like, do you expect me to work for free? Don't we complain when people are like, I want free healthcare, or I want free this, we should get free groceries. And it's like, well, the taxpayer dollars have to pay for it. Well, when you want free information from me, like you expect me to take you expect me to stop to take a day off work to do a gear review for you. And so I want to put that in perspective for people. Like you want me to take a day off work to do gear reviews for you so that you can keep working with my $1,000 worth of camera equipment and editing and all that so that you can get free information. And so it's a catch 22 there. So like for us, like we want to be fair. We want you to trust us, but in return, sometimes we do ask for a little compensation. And so when someone finds out that we're sponsored with a company, you shouldn't be upset. You shouldn't be offended when you find out that we have a company that sponsors us. And it's like, do you expect us to work for free? The thing is, I love the hunt. The filming is hard. Like, and the filming has cost me, you don't know how much animals to be lost.
Lots of
Yeah.
tails running off.
Yeah. Well, wolves. I'd say we've lost, you know, I, sometimes we talk about people are like, so what's your wolf count? Well, what's the worst? Like, I love telling people how many wolves I've killed, but you know what hurts is how many wolves I've lost. You know how many wolves I've lost because of trying to get it on video? A ton. It's hard because I don't like a wolf getting away. And we do that for you. We do it for anyone that's wants to watch our footage. And I love getting a wolf on film, but it's like, man, sometimes I wish that I just put the camera down and just focused on the killing.
Yeah.
So there's a lot to go on with that. So I won't get too much. I don't want to get too much off topic there, but
It's
um,
just it's a lot of work though, and I hope
yeah,
with anything like when you are trying to when you are trying to share information, when you're trying to share experiences, when you're trying to share products, there's a lot of work that goes behind the scenes that people don't see. They see the published video, but for those kind of creators that are out there, influencers, educators, whatever it might be, there's a work that goes in from planning what you're going to be doing to actually doing the production of that and then the post production. And that is a lot of work. I mean, on a given day, I'm working anywhere from 10 to 15 hours a day just to produce courses and to put out the videos, free videos on YouTube, all these different pieces that go into it. And the same question of like, well, why aren't master classes or courses free? Well, someone's got to be compensated for their time, their talents. And if that's going to be myself or someone that I hire out to do this work, this is 360 isn't the only company in the outdoor industry, obviously, that is needing to compensate people for their time and their effort and their knowledge and experience. And it's just like any industry where you might have a consult with someone. If like I was calling my accountant and asking some questions, I needed like a certificate from her, some sort of letter from her, and she didn't disclose to me that she was going to charge me. But um, for her time and her efforts in putting that letter together, she did end up sending me a bill. And I will say I was surprised by it, primarily because it wasn't disclosed to me. I just wish it would have been disclosed. I paid the bill, but I let her know that I was a bit frustrated that I needed to pay that. Yet I understand that this is her job and she works, and I can't expect that out of an accountant to write me a letter when she's got tons of other clients. And I think that there's a parallel to that, that like, if you have an influencer or some expert or educator that is making it clear that this is a paid experience, you're obviously going to know before you join or whether before you buy that product, um, what you're getting yourself into. And in doing so, you're agreeing to compensate them and you're respecting their time that they've put into it. So yeah, there is a little bit of anti-socialism here that we're talking about, that we just want people to understand that we live in a society where like everyone benefits from their time, their what they produce, um, and that's okay. I think what we're also talking about here are there's different forms of influencing. There's paid influencing, there's non-paid influencing, and then there's also like expert influencers versus non-expert influencers. And like we had discussed earlier, if you're putting your voice out there, you are an influencer. It just depends on what kind you are. Are you paid or non-paid? And are you expert or non-expert? And hopefully this is just like a helpful little tool, like to be able to distinguish between people as you're out there, because you need to understand that you live in the 21st century and literally anyone that you see through your screen, you will call an influencer, regardless of their following. You need to understand that everyone who is putting content out there is some form of an influencer.
Hmm.
So at least distinguish, are they paid or non-paid? Are they expert or non-expert? And you need to do your research, like Tom was saying, do your look into your reviews, read into that person's background. Just because they're in an ad doesn't mean that you should trust anything. That goes for any kind of product, any industry out there. Like obviously, in the finance or in the health and nutrition, you need to do a little bit of research on the topic and on the person. So not all influence is equal. Tom, where do we draw the line between educator, content creator, and influencer? What would you say is that line that they can use?
It's a very gray line, unfortunately. But I would just say it's how to getting to know somebody. Like you can get to know somebody through following them for years. Obviously, gear reviews. The hunting community, it's funny because sometimes it feels like it's big, but sometimes it's small. And some of these influencers you talk about, I thought, I've met the majority of them, and just like on random. And so it's like you start to find out the community is smaller than you think, but word of mouth is really important. But that's also goes 50-50 because I've heard people trash talk us and say things that aren't true about us. And I don't defend. I'm like, whatever. Like, you gotta take that for a grain of salt. But you gotta, but like for example with products, like when a good product's out, like I guess that's probably the better way to explain is like, okay, like how do you know that this is a good product? I'd say, yeah, you gotta get to know the influencer. Have they discredited themselves before? Have they ever shared false information before about a product? Um, like and I'm not just saying with us, but there's a lot of really good influencers out there, guys that I've actually have learned to respect over time. Some that I actually first I was kind of turned off on, and I'm just like, oh, this guy's just doing it for the money. And then I find out, hey, no, this guy kind of knows what he's doing. But that took time for me to learn about them, right? Um, like with our videos, I think a lot of it comes to do is not just what we say, but what we do. Like sometimes the best way to influence, I guess, is just watch what we do. We use the term proofs in the pudding a lot. Like you don't have to just take our word for it. Just watch our hunt. Watch our full hunt. See us use the product the way it's supposed to be used. The thing is, for us, we've been in places where it's life or death, and I don't want to die. I like no money. A company with sucky clothes can pay me $500,000, but I'm still not going to wear it in Alaska. Because you know how many times the weather in Alaska has almost killed me? Has almost killed our family? You got to have products that aren't going to kill you. like, like, or a gun. Like, you know how many times my family's almost died because of bear? I'm the, I'm, look back, I'm the only sibling that hasn't been charged by a bear. I'm the only one. So knock on wood. Maybe my years this year to get charged.
2026.
Yeah, 2026, I get official charged. Everybody else, all my siblings in my family have all been charged by a grizzly or brown bear. I have not. And so, and some more than once. And so you have to, So again, it's like, do you want a sucky gun that can't put down a bear? Or what about boots? You know, when you're walking through mount cliffs and you're trying to get to a mountain goat, do you want boots that you're going to slip and fall down the cliffs, or do you want boots that are actually going to grip on the rocks and get you to where you want to go? And so I think a lot of it comes back to like getting to know the people. Like I said, like we don't even have to say buy this product. We just we're just showing you using it. And a lot of these products you'll see we were using them long before we even became sponsored of it, right? But then, well, now let's like talk about the people to not trust. Some guys, this is the reason why I hate unboxing videos. I've done a couple. I don't feel right about them, to be honest with you. But those unboxing videos, it's like they got the first time they get the product in their hands, they're like, ooh, let's see what's in the box. You already know right then they've never used the product. And it's like, so for me, I'm kind of taken off. I was like, okay, ooh, new gloves. I can't wait to wear these this hunting season. It's like, you've actually have never worn those gloves. You've never put them
Instead
to
of
the test.
unboxing, it should be like a burn, like your or like throwaway video. Like, all right, instead of it being
Yeah.
brand new, it's like I'm about to throw this away. Like,
Yeah.
let me tell you everything that I think about this, for good or for bad. Like I just after 10 years, I'm throwing this away, or after 1 month, I'm throwing this away, and the reasons why. I don't know. Maybe that wouldn't be very popular, but
Yeah.
that would be more true to itself.
Yeah, I think it would. You got to at least go through the product. And another thing is just like, don't be offended when we switch a product. Like sometimes we're going through learning curves just like everybody else. And so if there's a new product out, I'm going to try it. You may see me wear it in a hunting video, and maybe I'll even say I like it. But then I find something better next year. It doesn't mean I hated the last product. And so that, again, you got to be careful with that, because what sometimes people think is like, oh, this person paid me. I realized I didn't like the product, and it's like, no, I'm all we are. I our family's mindset is to be innovative, just like all these companies. Like we look at QU. Gunworks is another company we always considered to be very innovative. That's why I really like working with them, because they're very much into improving, making things better, being independent. Like we loved that, like with the company QU or with the company Gunworks, because they're always innovative. Now, does that mean that in the future I might shoot different guns? I might. And we've shot different guns before. Sometimes I do shoot a different gun. Like I'm not married. I'm like I said, I'm never married to a product. Like like I will use the best product out there.
Yeah. I personally like when it comes to products, I'm not really a gear junkie. Like some people are, which is totally fine, and they know like every product out there, they know how everything works, and they've watched all these different videos on it. I'm so bad about this. So when it comes to just like gear and products, I personally have to rely on what experts are saying. Like, like for example, when I got my boots, which are Hoffman boots, I was asking you, asking Travis, I asked Lindsay Persico what boots she uses, and Adeline and Shane, and these are all experts who are in the mountains nearly every single day,
Uh-huh.
or all throughout the season, and that's where I got my information from. But I'm not gonna. I got so much on my plate. I'm not gonna spend a bunch of time watching review videos. I'm just going to ask people who I trust. So, how can someone gain that trust? Like you've talked about watching you, getting to know you through your hunts, following along and seeing like what you put out there. How can outdoorsmen, hunters build trust in voices online?
I mean, I think that's where it really comes down to. Like it's unfortunate, but it's about research, right? If you don't do enough research, you're going you're going to have some issues, and it could be with information, right? Like it's like, oh, I want to learn how to be fit. We talked about that. If you type in like what are the best bicep workouts, and you pick a first random guy who's showing you a bicep workout, and you don't know if he's taking steroids, you don't know what he's doing. You're like, it's 50-50 if that person's giving you the right information or not in the right form. And so it's getting to know a person, and I'd say get a good small community that fit your needs and your standards. So it's like if you're a type of guy who hunts like the West, and hunts Alaska, like it's good to get that small group of hunters, like maybe it's on YouTube, maybe you're watching the Sportsman channel, but I would just more or less pay attention to those particular people that you gain trust with. And then, like, and take the other ones for a grain of salt, I guess you could say. I say don't even have to trust me. Just find somebody that you do trust that you feel like you can relate to. Someone who hunts, I'll say like the East, like, you're hunting whitetails, flat country, tree stands, like you're probably going to want to trust somebody that hunts over there, right? Maybe not an elk hunter, maybe not a moose hunter. Maybe you want to wear the gear that they have. Maybe there's more camo that's required because whitetails are very like hunting whitetails is more of a still type hunting, and you don't want to be spotted.
It's kind of just common sense in a lot of
Yeah,
ways. We're kind of trying to share a little bit of common sense, I guess, is that
yeah.
if you don't know who to listen to, you ought to go more into that person, their background, who supports them, what did they do for work, and like you had said, you got your own day job outside of making hunting videos or um, review videos or master classes. Like you have other work that you're doing. Same thing with myself, same thing with any of the 360 instructors. Everyone is doing some form of work on a daily basis to provide for their families. And the product of the master classes, these online courses, is is something out there that people like Tom have put together to share their information, their knowledge, their experiences, their review of these different outdoor skills so that people who are seeking out those experts can learn from them in an environment in a setting where it's more efficient than YouTube.
And I guess while we're on topic with that, when I did the whitetail master class, I did not feel competent enough to do it all myself. I've killed nice whitetails. Don't get me wrong. I've killed some dandies. But I was like, I need, if I'm going to do the whitetail master class, I have a guy that I need to do it with. And so I picked the expert. I picked an expert whitetail hunter, guy that I know and trust who kills big bucks every year consistently. And I brought him into the master class to help teach that. I felt like I could not do that. I was honest with myself. I was like, yes, I have my techniques, but it's not enough. We need Mark. And so we did that. We brought in Mark to taught the master class. He brought in his products that he used. Some of the products he hand makes, so he doesn't even buy, as we know.
Some are
And
very
so
organic.
he's very, very organic, and so it's like, and he himself, he's just like, yeah, don't like. We'll talk about like deer scent. Like he doesn't really buy deer scent from the store. Does it work? Yeah. But some people get caught up into like, oh, what deer scent do you use? Oh, what scent lock do you use? And he doesn't use any of that stuff. He has his own organic mix that he's mixed himself. And you guys can always buy products if you want.
You're
And
bringing in
we're
an expert to help, like in an area that you might not feel expert in.
But I still go back in the lines of just like we and I are both religious, and so there's a scripture about the law are two or three witnesses shall all things be fulfilled. I go back to like it's like, okay, let's say you're wanting to buy a product. See what a couple different resources come up with that. Like is there a multiple people that are saying that's a really good product? If so, then that might narrow down your opinion. But I'm saying like if you have three or four professionals saying this is a really good product, we like using it, then it probably is one. But and so it's and that could be helpful too. Are you going to maybe buy a product? Like, here's the thing, like you'll see there's a division even sometimes with the Stuck and Rut family because Adam will wear a different product than I'll wear, and he likes it, but for me, I don't like it how it feels. And sometimes a product feels differently with other people. So also consider that. It and so like I said, it's such a gray area. There's not like this. I wish things were so black and white. But I think what it comes down to is you got to get to know the influencer. I don't. It's same thing about with politics, right? Not all cops are bad. Not all guns kill people, or no guns kill people. It's just bad people, right?
Yes.
Like, but it's like the reason why bad things happen with guns is not because of guns itself. Like sometimes people are too narrow sighted, and you got to look at things with an open mind. When I go into a product, I look at the pros and cons, and then I try to meet in the middle. And and it's important to do research because especially if you're wearing a pair of boots, you don't want to, you know, boots are 400. Well, I mean more like $500-600, right? And so for a good pair of boots, and you want them to last you a long time. And most people aren't going to hike as much as we do, and so they'll last you longer. We do a ton of hiking, and I use them. I end up using that pair of boots for work too, because I'm still when I'm working, I'm hiking. When I'm doing my job, and so I'm wearing down boots really fast, and so take that for what it is. But I'm always going to be honest with a product. Like that's one thing with Stuck and Rut. Um, and there's the other companies out there that are the same way. But I would, like I said, I'd be careful. Even the best guys out there, like I was saying, like unboxing videos, like let's be honest, the product they haven't used the product. They're they're doing unboxing. It's the first time they've ever touched it. I always feel like a product has to go through it at least a hunting season before you even consider advertising it. I've learned that the hard way. I had a product that I bought and I thought it was really good after spring bear season, and I won't give the product name. But then after in the fall, it just crapped out on me. It crapped out on all of us. And so it was like a product that we first thought it was good and we were convinced of it. And then after going through a hunt season, we found out it wasn't that great. And so our big rule now is it has to go through a hunting season before we start reaching out and
A lot
telling
of
people.
influencers can get like on that excitement train of like they have a company that starts supporting them, and it's they're maybe like a pretty new influencer or content creator. They get that first support and then they're like, "Oh, I'm going to go get another one." And then they start chasing after it, and that's where their views and their positioning can really start to shift and change because they're caught on this like dopamine hit of getting compensated for sharing and for putting their voice out. And I think what has been helpful for me is seeing people who have just been kind of steady, like who uh, I've had a lot of the instructors on 360 open their packs and they're like, "Oh, I've been using this for like 5 years. Oh, I've used this for like 15 years." And it's actually it's different than what I thought. Like I was anticipating a lot of them to be sharing like brand new stuff that was like top notch, 2025, 2026 produced or created. And it's just like, no, this is not new stuff. This is old, tried and tested equipment. I think there's a lot of things that influencing can do that's good. I think there's a lot of things that can do that's bad. Again, regardless of the size of your following, there are people who will speak out against influencers, but even speaking out against influencers is influencing.
Yeah, I'm gonna tell. So now I'm gonna just straight up tell you guy off the bat here. So some of you guys may know, and I'm not. I mean, and if he gains more followers with me saying this, I don't care. That's fine. His name's Hunt Quietly, and I have nothing against him. But to explain who he is, so he's like the brother of Steve Ranella, and and the the guy just, so Steve Ranella, as you guys know, owns Meat Eater, and some I've heard people, it's just, Steve Ranella, he's really big, and so people that sometimes throws people off in a way. Whatever you feel about Steve Ranella, I want to talk to you about his brother. His brother is completely anti social media, anti everything. Yet he still builds a following. He still like has so many thousand followers. Not a lot, but enough. Yeah, like a fair amount. And he does podcasts. He sells clothing, and it's like, dude, like and he's extremist. He's like extremist, anti-influencing. Influencing is ruining hunting. And I guess we should talk about that too. Is it ruining hunting? Um, but yeah, but a lot of the stuff that he brings up, which I'm following him, and I follow him because he's brought up a couple good points. I think people need to have opposition to reflect to see where they're at. I think that's the only way to make positive changes. You can't just go one direction. So I kind of like the opposition in a way. I like to hear his points of views, but he's a little too radical. And one of the times he was really hashing out on how you're like the term sellout. Okay, so let's talk about that term. The term sellout's getting thrown around a lot. And so he did a post and he was talking about people selling out. And, kind of going back to what I said earlier, I actually reached out to him. I was like, what is your opinion on this? I just an honest opinion. I'm like, I explained our situation where, hey, like, we realize that we're just videoing our hunts. We're just having fun videoing our hunts. But when we're sitting there and we're wearing QU clothes, we're holding a Gunworks gun, people are buying that. And so the companies are winning from us. It's like, and I'm not getting paid. I got all this camera gear. I got an expensive computer. I said, what if I was just only, so I brought the question up, like, what if I just only advertise products that I truly love and believe in? Doesn't matter what type of hunter you are, you have to buy a product to hunt. I promise you, you're not weaving your own hunting clothes. You're not building your own gun. You're not building your own boots. All these products, you're buying it from a company. And those companies, in order for them to be successful, they have to advertise. I don't mean to have to break it down in baby steps, but that's kind of that's how life works, people. And so the guy, Hunt Quietly reached out and he's like, "Oh, yeah, you're a sellout. You're just as bad as them all." So he said that about me, and I was like, "Whatever, I don't care." But I've heard in multiple times in videos when I'm saying, hey, like this, we're using Onyx here. People in the comment section, hey, I wish the got times when you guys wouldn't push a product. And it's like, well, so you missed the times when we'd spend thousands of dollars on camera equipment and no one would. And so that all that came out of our pocket, but you get a free YouTube video. And I want to also tell the people that YouTube doesn't pay a lot. It's pennies. It's literally peanuts. And even with the amount of followers and views that we have, it's not enough. It truly is not enough to make anything. And so it covers a little bit of expenses, but when you have five people, running the YouTube channel. When you split that amongst each other, it's pennies. It's not even worth having a YouTube channel if you're focusing only on making money on YouTube, forget it. The people that make money on YouTube get millions of views every video they post. Plural, millions.
You can't
Those
do
are
it off of 20 to 50,000. Like it's not enough.
It isn't. No. You get like $20. And it's like, wow, like I did this huge hunt. I spent thousands of dollars of fuel, time off work, editing videos, and I made $25 on a video. Ooh, yeah. What am I gonna do with this $25? Oh, I bought some eggs and bacon, and it's all gone. And so
It's not realistic.
it isn't. And so I try to break that down to people, and so that's so you got to understand that.
There's areas where there's good influencers,
uh-huh.
and let's wrap that like
Uh-huh.
things that are helpful. in the hunting industry when you're looking at influencing. So the first thing you should look at, are they educating? Like, are they providing some form of educational value where you are learning and you're going to become a better sportsman? Whether it's paid or free, are they
Yeah.
educating? Yes or no? Okay.
Yeah.
Is their reach more important than experience? Are they encouraging you to get out into the field? Are they encouraging you to go and do the things that they're talking about? Or is it apparent that they're just trying to extend their reach and they don't really care what you glean from that? And I'll speak for the instructors on our team. Every master class, you're going to hear the words, you need to get out and practice, and you need to get out in the field and try this yourself and do it yourself. You should also be asking yourself, can you trust the influencer or not? And a good influencer is going to make it really apparent and transparent, easy for you to know how they can trust you. And they're not going to recommend that this is right for everybody. So some influencers out there, like they're just this general salesman, and they're just like, this is a one size fits all. This is great for everybody. And it's clear that like you have to realistically say like not all products fit everyone. 360 Sportsman as a masterclass platform does not fit everybody. There's a group that it's for, there's a group that it's not for. Other things to look at. Is it helping the industry, the outdoor industry, the hunting industry? Is it helping? Meaning, is it helping recruitment? Is it helping retention? A lot of outdoor sports right now are suffering from both of those. And is this influencer encouraging people to join and to participate and to support and to help others join and participate and to support these industries? Snowmobiling industry, I'll say, like I hear from the experts that it's a dying sport. It's really struggling. Um, that is that is really difficult. And so you have influencers in the snowmobiling industry that are trying to boost recruitment of new snowmobilers, and they're trying to retain old snowmobilers. The same is said of hunters. There's a lot of hunters that are falling off. Maybe the systems are getting too complicated, or they're getting lost in the sauce. So it can be hard to retain. So point being there, try to find folks that are helping to support these sports in sustainability of these sports in the long term. Um, some of it has to do with the political side of things too. Like, are these influencers promoting ideas and policy that is going to help the sport in the long run, or are they putting on these restrictions and these ceilings where future hunters are going to be limited to do certain things, to go beyond um, where you currently are in this generation, and your kids are gonna have to follow so many rules. The rule book is going to be twice the size. Like, how big do you think the rule book was 30 years ago?
Yeah, it's well, and they're not catching. They're trying to catch up now. That's what like Idaho right now, which I don't like. Is there's things that I see where it's like okay, so but Idaho really cracked down on. They're trying to pass a lot of legislation right now, which I'm like actually against
We'll do
because
another video too on like all of that, on a lot of that legislation.
yeah, we'll have to. Yeah, we'll have to. But it's like yeah, it's just like to me though, it's just like got to be careful going down that rabbit hole too. And that's the thing. Like some people thought I was for like some of these technologies, and I'll just use an example like thermals. Like some people are like, "Are you so you promote using thermals?" I'm like, "On wolves, yes." And people are like, "Well, no, it's saying only unglets." And I'm like, "Well, how are you supposed to regulate that? How are you like if I'm hunting wolves during elk season, how are you supposed to regulate that?" You know what's funny? Last minute, they changed it from ungulates only to all big game because they found out that there's no way to regulate that. And there's a bunch of other things they're trying to push that I think is ridiculous. That's unrealistic. The other one is flying. So they're like saying no flying during hunting season. And it's like, okay, I get the concept. Yeah, you don't want people harassed. You don't want animals harassed by people trying to scout with an airplane. But how are you going to regulate when the majority of pilots are not hunters? You're going to fish and game are you going to shut down all airline traffic like from private planes? No private planes can fly for 4 months out of the year. I mean, this stuff is like the rule. I mean, I don't think that's going to pass. I think that's stupid. And so like there's a lot of these weird rules that just don't make sense.
In all
Um,
in all the
Yeah.
states and even different provinces,
Yeah.
yeah.
and because we
Well,
have folks friends in Canada, like,
yeah.
and we have places around the world where regulations have just really bound up these industries to make it so
Well,
difficult.
And I get it. I get it in a way because what's happening and again this goes back to like we were talking about doing research. It's important to do research and see what the actual problem is. And that's what I'm trying to tell people is like go back and actually see where the issues are. Like why are the deer and elk numbers doing so poorly? Like is it because it's people with like people that own thermals are pretty wealthy. Like to have like thermals that are like and I'm not one to I don't own them. But like for someone to own thermals are like, I mean, to get ones that are half decent are like 10 grand plus. How many people are walking around with $10,000 thermals? Like the majority of hunters are not like, so it's like some people are bittered about stuff like that. But it's like, hey, you guys, like if you think about it, you actually think that this small percentage of hunters are the problem. Like, and it's the same thing like airplane. Like, how many people can own an airplane? You know what I mean? And who who are flying in the backcountry.
Sometimes it's just a non-issue. Like it honestly is. Like
Yeah,
obviously there are things that you can pick apart and try to find issue with, but
yeah.
sometimes it's just like, is this
They're
really
just
what we need to
people
be
want to.
like?
people want to blame stuff. Yeah, they just want something to blame and target it to, and it's like you guys got to really look at the real issues. And it's like, okay, how about this? I do believe so. We were talking about influencers and like, I don't, I disagree when an influencer, and I'm not pointing any names out, when an influencer comes out and says, "Hey, I hunted this unit in Montana or Idaho or Wyoming. This was an incredible unit. I highly recommend people to put in for that tag." When you do that, almost any time an influencer's ever done that, it has ruined the unit. Like,
The
That
unit
was on
is.
my list too of things
Yeah.
like for the good and the bad, like the
Yeah.
spot
And
burning.
so
yeah, and so I'm kind of just diving right in the bad. Diving right into the good and the bad. But let's talk about the good. I'm going to talk briefly about F4WM, the Foundation for Wildlife Management. Some people were turned off because a lot of nonprofit organizations, when they grow so big, people get fearful of that, like the Rocky Mountain Elk Foundation, the Mule Deer Foundation, and I've heard that's been controversial that some of these people that are in there are getting paid, and people don't like that. And I go back. You and I talked about time. Do you have the time to run the Mule Deer Foundation? Do I have the time?
I do work with like a foundation, like
uh,
it's a religious one, and I'm a like a part-time employee there, and I get
yeah.
Yeah,
paid.
you have to.
And that's a religious organization. Anyone could gripe about that and say, why would someone get paid for promoting faith or whatever it might be? But like these organizations, why do they exist? It's to support activism for some cause, or to spread some sort of message. And in the hunting world, like they're trying to spread some sort of message or do some sort of area of conservation to benefit the sports.
Yeah. Well,
And
then they have to
who's going to
pass.
do that?
Yeah.
Yeah,
A
And
guy that's volunteering or someone that's getting paid who has the ability to provide for their family. Like just being realistic.
yeah, you have to. Well, it's like anytime you're trying to pass I can't even say it, legislation. Like, who has the time to take off work and to put in time to come up with a message and come up with bills that are going to pass that are going to help the hunting space? And these people need to get paid for their time and compensation. It's the same with Wolf, like the Wolf Foundation. People were bittered about that, where it's like, oh, I don't like the fact that some people are getting paid and it's like, you guys, like, Do you have the time? I know I don't.
Or the
But it's
mind,
like
not
some,
not even just the time, but sometimes like the mental space and
yeah,
and the expertise. Like some people are just built in this world to handle certain situations. Most of us could not withstand the pressure of being in a courtroom. Like it would just like or in like a legislative
yeah,
session. It'd just be too stressful or too
it would.
annoying.
Yeah,
Whatever it might be.
Yeah, but you gotta, like you said, the mental space when I'm doing my job. Like and I'll just use this example. Like I can't mix hunting with work. I have to take time off work. I can't. I've tried the whole like hunt a day, work a day. Like I can't do that. I have to take time off work so I'm mentally in the game, mentally in it. Like my hunt is my work now. Although I'm not getting paid. I'm like I am like I am not going back to work until my elk tag is filled. Like that's the only way, well, I want to say the only way I'm successful. I've done it where you take a day or so, but it's just not as effective. It's the same thing with like I've donated my time to help the Wolf Foundation, F4WM, the Mule Deer Foundation. I've put in my time to do some things here and there, but it's not enough. I mean, for me, it was only like a day.
Not
You know what I
sustainable to
mean?
keep that organization actively engaged in the reason why that organization exists.
yeah.
You
And
you need
so,
your long-term people who are
You need someone who's in it full time,
yeah.
keeping things going, and so that's the other thing. So that's I wanted to say this is the positive form of influencing. So when you see marketing for a big organization like that, that's a positive thing. These are positive growth. Or you see the guy, what was it, in Utah, who was trying to sell off. I don't know if he was not a governor, but he's someone high end in Utah. Again, don't quote me on this, but I know he was trying to sell off a bunch of public land. And a lot of hunters, including Cameron Hanes and these big influencers that people are bittered about, that have big followings, have come out and said, hey, let's all get together and stop this from happening. We saw because of influencers, people were able to halt that of public lands being sold and to private investors. It's we like there's a lot of like for how many times people want their voices to be heard, so they reach out to me. They'll private message me to say, "Hey," and the reality is I can. There's only so much we can do, right? Like, hey, we have a cause that we need to fight for, and we want you to do a post. I'm like, build your own following and come up. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not gonna. You start. I don't want to say you start polluting your following, but you do. You start polluting your post if you start getting too political. And that's not our page. Our page is to entertain and for
people
People
have
just want
enjoyment.
to find hunting and follow hunters who are
Yeah.
similar, like-minded like them.
But if I promote like they're releasing wolves like here in California, or they're pushing anti-mountain lion hunting in California or Washington, or you know what I mean? It's like there's only so many causes that I can push for. Like I'm always promoting wolf management, always stick up for that, and I will always voice my opinion on that. But like I just find it interesting that when times come to that, now everybody relies on an influencer to share their voice, and it's like if you want that voice to be heard, it takes you to speak up. Like we all have a voice, we all have an opinion that, or not even opinion, but like there's issues that you see that you want fixed. And the only way you're going to get these things fixed is you have to be an influencer. You yourself have to speak up. And or like a foundation, like sometimes we don't have the voice as loud, like for F4WM. I feel like their voice is louder than mine. So that's why I support them. That's why I support the Rocky Mountain Elk Foundation, the Mule Deer Foundation. They have voices that I don't have. Like mine is loud but not loud enough. And so or was it howl.org? I think it's howl.org. Um, they're another organization that really helps, you know, the hunters, like support hunting and keeping those opportunities for our future generations. But where it comes down to, though, where influencing can get bad is when people, I think, feel like in some way the money is more valuable than integrity. So you're pretty much selling off your integrity. That's
which
the word
is
I was trying
where
to think of.
people start throwing around the term sellouts,
Yeah.
but they're using that term really loosely because oftentimes they don't even know like that person's integrity, values, and what they stand for. So they're just
Yeah, it's
screaming,
like what am
sell
I?
out, sell out, sell out because they see someone promoting something that they're passionate about and
Yeah.
perhaps getting compensated for.
That's what it's come down to. It's become a bad term, and I'm like, okay,
Yeah.
so you want all the cut. So you're if everybody's a sellout, then you do not. Then you it goes. It's the same thing I say to an environmentalist that says, oh, like you should just you should buy meat from the grocery store and not kill. That's literally what I hear when somebody says you're a sellout because you're literally the same person. Like you don't understand where your stuff comes from. You're completely blind to it. You don't realize like it's like okay, you promote if you truly believe that, sew your own clothes, build your own gun, sew your own socks. Like because you're anti industry, well, don't buy the products then.
It's a similar issue, but it's
Yeah.
I think what we're talking about right there is like commercializing the outdoor industry and that influencing and commercializing can kind of cross paths a little bit. And we'll have to talk about that. We kind of have touched on it where, uh, where one is getting compensated for their products for whatever. It's a commercial business, but there's a lot of good things that influencers can do. They can help you build your values and your ethics. If new hunters, late onset hunters, this is really helpful with, and outdoorsmen in general. People who are trying to understand like just ethics and what they should believe, what they should think. I've
Yep.
found great value, tons of value and information from listening to these experts on the 360 platform of like how I should view conservation and like this everything makes logical sense. Like they're not trying to sell me on these values. It's just like that makes sense how I should think about that and how I can explain it to other people who might not understand that, who have been influenced by media like Disney and other Hollywood studios that have pushed values just aimlessly. Or I guess it's not even aimlessly, they have a targeted agenda. So when we learn solid values from outdoorsmen and professionals that we can take and apply in our lives, good influencer right there. Good influencers help you avoid dangerous situations where you, like Tom is talking about going up to Alaska, like the clothing, the gear that I had was recommended to me because it was tried, true, Alaska proven. And even though I was freezing cold doing some caribou hunting with Tana, um, I still felt reasonably comfortable and wasn't on the verge of hypothermia or frostbite. So sometimes the right recommendations from influencers can help you avoid dangerous situations. Um, let's start diving in here for next kind of portion, few minutes, where we can really break down some of the negative things. And I'll list off a few just to kind of get this going and we can break off where we need to. But where we say entertainment is more valuable than the information, um, and it's okay to be entertained. Like there are some really funny influencers that make some really funny content. Like I like seeing the stuff about from Elk Don't Exist, like from that gentleman. I think some of that
Yeah.
content that he puts out are pretty funny. But I don't think he's misinforming people. So like sometimes when certain things entertainment wise create misinformation, bad influencer. Where influencers or content creators are trying to go for like really high visibility. They're trying to do rage bait, clickbait kind of stuff. That's not a good. That's not good for the outdoor industry. Like, for example, if you are just shooting an animal over and over again, or maybe you're doing hound hunting or trapping. Like there's a lot of sensitivities there. If you're putting that content out in a way that's trying to spark rage amongst antis and attract, like create an anti-magnet, don't do that.
Yeah, it's okay to show hound hunt. It's okay to show that stuff and to show, hey, like this is it's important. Like maybe explaining the importance of why we need to hound hunt and stuff. But
There is a fine line of like showing like a dispatch, whether you're hound hunting or whether you're trapping. Generally, it's not really the best to show dispatches online, but when it comes to those sports, but you can. It's more of if you're taking the dispatch to an extreme, and again, you're trying to create an anti-magnet. That person might be after it. So there is that. If they're giving bad advice that could get people hurt, that's obviously not good.
well, yeah, well, I think and going with hurt, it could be hurting someone's hunting spots too. Like I said, like we brought up the unit thing, and hunters, and this is where I will use the term sellout. And we've been very careful with it because, our hunting spots are very valuable to us. And we're very careful in like, people think we're ruining hunting, like hunting areas and stuff. And we're really careful. And like showing backgrounds too, we're like really careful in showing them mountains and things like that. Where I say it's like, I honestly blame the people because some people recognize a stump or they'll recognize a landmark and they're like, "Ooh, I know that exact location," and they'll say it on our public, like on a public forum, for example, on YouTube. In the comment section, somebody will be like, "That is in this drainage," and they'll literally. I mean, honestly, if you're listening, um, I'm calling you out here, like that when you specifically state a drainage or a unit on a public forum, you're an idiot because you literally just gave away the location. And it's not my fault you did it, not me. And so someone on a public forum's like, "Hey, oh yeah, that's in this creek." Like, and they'll name the creek drainage and they're like, "Oh yeah, can you please keep that quiet cuz that's been a place that me and my family's been hunting for years." I'm like, "You're an idiot cuz you just told if that video got 100,000 views, it's like you just told 100,000 people that creek drainage." And so you're an idiot. You know what I mean? And no offense, but I'm just saying, like, how many people do that? Like, where they don't think that through. And they're
Is
just
that
like,
White Mountain? Why are you hunting there? You shouldn't be showing people that spot.
yeah, they're like, well, you shouldn't be showing that people that spot. And it's like, you literally just told everybody on a public forum. If somebody messages me privately, then it's different. If somebody privately messages me where the public doesn't say, like, hey, is this bear drainage or whatever, like like how was it? I will be open since you and I both hunt the same drainage. Hey, it's like I there's nothing that you don't know that I don't know, right? Like we all know the drainage. I'm more than happy to talk to you about it. But don't like maybe this is like a just don't share that online because then again you're the problem. It's not me. I've been very good at keeping quiet about it. I will never share a location on a public post. We've learned this the hard way where, well, not that, but like when we first started Stuck in Rut, we'd film and we'd do scenic backgrounds. We'd show the mountains. And our spots were discovered like that. And places that we had private for years, all of a sudden everybody's at it. And you're like, what the heck? And so,
Is like tied into the travel and tourism side of things and
yeah,
how that industry has been ruined in a lot of ways. I will say this, there's been bad influence and good influence in the travel and tourism industry.
yeah. And that's part of it is like, oh, this hiking trail is incredible. And there were spots like that where I used to hunt, and literally most people that hike aren't even hunters. But it's annoying now because, like you said, like the travel and tourism people are like, "Oh, this is a cool hiking trail. I recommend it. Great waterfall." And it's like, "Oh, don't you?" I miss the times you go back there and you don't see a soul. And now you go back there and there's 15 tree huggers that are camped back that are wearing North Face jackets, and you're like, oh my gosh. I'm like, this place is it's not destroyed. It's just, but still, like a lot of them don't even hike off the trail. So I'm still hunting those areas. It's just a little bit more annoying. But again, it goes back to like, there is actual influencers, and I won't give names, that have ruined hunting areas that were, they have, I've watched the videos. They recommended a unit, or they've recommended, and they did that to market a certain company. And I'm like, that, in my opinion, is a sellout. If you want to use the term sellout properly, that's someone who was sold that hunting spot for money, and it ruined a good hunting area. And it did not, it just made, it did more harm than good. That's where I look at it. Is like, if does it do more harm to society or good? You kind of brought that up. And so that's kind of where I'm at there. But won't go any farther. I feel like we covered that pretty good. But
There
what else
there
you
are
got?
some other good areas, like things to consider about the bad side, and I kind of mentioned this with the travel and tourism side of things. Those viral posts that are out there of like beautiful scenery. It is edited and just like, they've tried to s- spice it up a little bit more than its original glory, but it's beautiful, looks great. What happens is a lot of those secret spots can be overcrowded. Local communities can get overwhelmed by that. Like they can get an influx of people that just makes it really difficult to go to those small towns and enjoy them. Um, like I feel like it's already ruined, so I might as well put it out there. But like Jackson Hole, Wyoming, and like the Teton area, we went out there to go just check out Teton National Park and stuff. And going through Jackson Hole is just like, man, this place is so crowded. There's just cars everywhere. And you would expect that kind of traffic in in Salt Lake, like that kind of congestion. Obviously, there's not enough infrastructure there to compare to Salt Lake, but it's just the idea of like, why in this small town are we bumper to bumper? And there's just pedestrians walking all over the place. Everyone wants to be there because Teton National Park has had so many influencers out there sharing, look how beautiful this mountain is, look how all the blah 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 blah. And yeah, there's the pros and cons. Like for some that live in that Jackson Hole, Wyoming area, that's their income. They're now uh, tourism uh, employers or employees supporting that industry. And when that time comes every year, that's how they're going to make their money for the rest of the year. But there is also a lot of people who don't appreciate that and who wish that they could go access these locations in their backyard and enjoy them. So locals can get pushed out. Sometimes areas can get closed down or access restricted because there's too much traffic going through them. Environmental degradation can happen where you start seeing trails just get heavily abused in some spots or maybe taking certain paths that they shouldn't. So what happens with that is the influencing has led to overcrowding, um, difficult access. There's a whole bunch of things, and sometimes pressure on the wildlife too. Just trying to give you another example, kind of within the outdoor industry, but different from hunting, how influence can help or hurt. And again, it can support local economies, but it can also be difficult for people to enjoy what once was a quiet place to go and enjoy with their family.
Yeah, and I guess going to that too, it's not too far off topic, but like I was kind of bitter to find out that Montana's shortening the amount of non-resident tags they give out. And now I completely understand. It's the same thing with me being an Idaho resident, where I'm like, oh yeah, there's so many non-resident hunters. But again, it goes back to what's actually the problem. I know a lot of people that are I don't want to say narrow-sighted, but you know how many people tell me, go back to where I came from, don't hunt Montana, when my house is literally 700 yards from the Montana line? How do you not expect me to want to hunt Montana when I live in walking distance to Montana? And I do my grocery shopping, and I work. Most of my work is in Montana. So it's like, what do you expect from me to not want to hunt Montana when it's in my backyard? But going back to that, Sorry, I'm not meaning to rant here, but
But Tom, not everyone lives 700 yards away.
that's
You're an
true.
exception, I guess.
That's true. But I want to give people like it goes back to doing your own research, right? So are non-residents actually the problem for the lower number in deer and elk populations? Like really do some research, figure this out. Like for one, and this is all the states. This is even on Idaho. I think Idaho's struggling with it too. A lot of the seasons, the long hunting seasons that they haven't changed. You know, we talk about back in the day when there wasn't a lot of hunters in the woods. Like they had these long, lengthy hunting seasons. Montana, Idaho did. Like, and you look at the other states, you look at Utah, Wyoming, Colorado. They're very short hunting seasons. Like Montana, I can hunt during the rut mule deer the entire month of November and parts of October with a rifle. You think that how do you expect a big mature mule deer to survive when you have like over 40 plus days of a season? I mean, maybe I'm exaggerating there. Maybe it's not 40 days, but it's close to almost 40 days of season with a rifle in hand during the rut when a buck is most vulnerable. Like all the other states are not doing that. Only Montana's doing this on a general tag out of all things. It's a general tag as a Montana resident. You can hunt elk or mule deer for over a month with a rifle in hand. How do you expect to have any quality left out? The other thing I may bring up, and I'm just giving this as an example for people to think outside the box here. They've given the same amount of non-resident tags for years. They haven't changed the number. So why does it seem like there's more? Perhaps you should look at the population of Montana. There's more hunters in Montana than there's ever been, right? And so maybe it's a resident issue. Maybe for me, uh, it wasn't an I barely ran into people in the woods where I go. You know what I saw? Predators. Lots and lots of predators. And I just think like and I think it's a complex issue, but I don't think it's a non-resident issue with Montana what they're dealing with right now. And so I just want so kind of what I'm bringing up here is it's so easily to blame influencers, it's so easy to blame non-residents, it's so easy to blame these things we want to blame. But it's important to just like go into this information with an open mind and think to ourselves, okay, like what is an actual solution? Well, first you got to find out what the actual problem is. And then you got to find out what the actual solution is. Are influencers the problem? Are non-residents the problem? Is tourism the problem? Like, and if it is, what are some realistic solutions? And a lot of people that have a strong voice, or not a strong voice, but but have a loud voice. You ask them for the numbers and the statistics, and they can't tell you. They want their voices heard. They're upset. But it's important. I think what I'm trying to do is do a big wrap up here. Hunters have to work together. I see and let me talk about another. I know we can go on for hours about this. Wolf trappers and hound hunters at first did not get along because, hear me out here. Because no hound hunters like wolves because wolves kill hounds, right? But also hound hunters don't like trappers because the hounds are getting in the wolf traps too, right? And so there became this conflict where hound hunters were trying to stop wolf trappers. But they're stopping wolf trappers, their hounds were getting killed by wolves. Do you see where how like we're working against the grain here? And what I've noticed what was really good what happened in Idaho is that communication. How doesn't that go with anything, right? With marriage, with everything else, communication, getting actual like now the hound hunters and the trappers are really good at communicating with each other. The hound hunters know where to avoid the wolf trappers. Like, okay, there's a good skilled wolf trapper in this area. I'm not going to let my hounds run in there. Why? For one, there's traps in there, right? That might hook your hounds. For two, knocking down the wolves is going to help prevent more casualties with hounds. But here's the sad thing is I still see this controversial issue happen in Montana. There's certain areas of Montana where hound hunters hate wolf trappers' guts, but also in the same sentence they'll complain about wolves killing their hounds. And it's like, well, what? So you have to be realistic. So what I'm saying with people is like you have to be realistic with solutions. Is everybody a sellout? That's not realistic, right? Are wolf trappers out to kill your hounds? That's not realistic. I think it comes back to, we're here, hunters, we have to work together. Influencers, non-influencers, people that love running technology, people that are anti-technology, compound bows, people that rather shoot traditional. Everybody has their own unique ways they like to hunt, and we all need to work together. Like there shouldn't be as much division as there is now, and I'm seeing an increase in the division in our own hunting community. And in my opinion, it has to stop because that's just we're hurting ourselves and we're losing strength.
I think even like bigger picture, there's division in so many areas across the country and around the world.
Mm-hmm.
And there's many divisions in the outdoor industry. And we know that the hunting industry is a segment of the outdoor industry, of which there's a lot of division over. And and this isn't just about supporting the hunting industry, it's supporting the outdoor industry as well. Those who snowmobile, those who ride ATVs and dirt bikes, do off roading, supporting all that. There's areas that you need to support with fishing. Um, you can't always pick and choose your battles because, as we've seen with different types of like niches within the hunting industry that have been attacked, like the saying goes like first they came for the trappers, and they came for the whatever it might be, and you basically have just watched them these regulations and policies pick apart and overregulate to the point where trapping is restricted, hound hunting is restricted, and it goes all the way down until eventually it gets to the common deer hunter. Um, it's not just the hunting side of things, it's also the full outdoor industry and public land access. It's the bigger picture. And whether you're an angler or a hunter or a rider, whatever it might be, if the hunting industry gets wiped or restricted, just wait for them to come for the fishing, wait for them to come for these other areas of the outdoor industry because it will happen. And it is happening. It's an attack from all angles. And what Tom is talking about is a united front, regardless of what you enjoy doing with your outdoor time. This is an effort to unite all these different areas, backgrounds, skill sets. And if we can do that, we can enjoy these kind of things for long into the future. For
Yeah.
your kids and your grandkids and great grandkids, and it will go on. But if we continue with this kind of environment on social media, where it's just attack, 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 then it's really not going to go over too well for us and the generations to follow. They'll see
Well,
the
and it's not. And
effect.
I see, and again, I'm kind of going back to it because for me, I'm not like we shared a lot of problems, right? The problems that are going on, but I'm a solution person. I like solutions, and I think, and there's not like one per se solution besides working together, but also if you want a cause to be implemented, like there's power in numbers, and so to port these big organizations, be a part of them, and like be a part of the Wolf Foundation, F4WM, be a part of Rocky Mountain Elk. Be a part of the Mule Deer Foundation. You really want your voices to be heard. You want habitat to last. You want to be able to continue on with these traditions for a lifetime. I would get yourself involved. There's a hounds hunter. There's a trapping. I forget which that. There's a really good one for houndsmen. There's a good one for trapping. You should be involved in all these communities. It's really important to get ourselves involved in these because, like I said, there's power in numbers and just being involved. Like I'll give another example with the fish and game in the winters. The Idaho Fish and Game, some other states too, like Montana, they'll have these meetings where they're just like, hey, like we're going to implement new laws. There's a chance for your voice to be heard. Like either show up to this meeting house or it may be online. But it's time. Like we're taking public comment. Like take time out of the day to to share what you feel like needs changed. Like because there's a lot of people online that'll complain about how sucky the fish and game are their whole life, but then no, but not those same people won't show up at the meeting house, right? When the caribou, so like I'll tell you about the caribou that was pretty much going extinct in Idaho. There's so many people that were saying this and that about that caribou, and then when the time came for that meeting, there's so many people online. I mean, hundreds, if not thousands of people had their opinion on the caribou in Idaho and what's going on with them. But when the time came for that meeting and there's a whole room full of wildlife biologists, there was like 4 people that decided to show up to listen to that meeting and to actually get true hard facts. And it's just like, where did all these people that have such strong opinions go? You know? And And it's the same thing with our mule deer. Like we realized it's like I said, same thing with Montana, Idaho. Our mule deer season was too long during the rut, and a lot of locals, including myself, realized we need to shorten this mule deer season down. It's not fair for our mule deer. Well, a couple of us showed up, and what I'm saying is that sometimes things like this make a difference. A lot of us showed up and said we need to shorten this mule deer season. And the following year, they cut 10 days off it, and then they cut and then later on they cut another 5 days off it, and now we've seen our mule deer numbers spike. Like not just spike, but our quality of bucks are slowly coming back. And I've been able to kill some great bucks the past couple of years. And so like I said, so like your voice just being out there, but also doing your research too. So there's a difference between having an opinion and like having like also your facts straight too. Sometimes people just want to speak and they don't want to listen. And I think it's important to listen and be open-minded. Anyone here who's listened this long into the podcast has been really good at listening. So you've done great. But I think it's just, hey, this is a topic that we can talk about for days. But I think we just got to nail this on the head because I was saddened to see like just on our YouTube videos and people are like, you guys are the very reason that the hunting's getting ruined. And I'm like, us? Really? You think it's us? Like they just want to blame something. They understand that there is issues that are happening and they just can't put their finger on it. And so it's easy to blame the first thing that they see. And I'm just like, just do a little extra research before you like to just blame us for ruining the hunting industry because we've been very careful with that. And in fact, some of my hunting spots I can still go to and I still don't see a soul. And so it's like, I haven't ruined, like, if you see a bunch of hunters in your spot, something else is wrong. It ain't me because I've been pretty careful and been pretty quiet. Now, has spots been ruined because somebody saw me in an area? Absolutely. And I'm just like, but it's like, same thing. It's like that person ran their mouth and said, I bumped in the stuck and rut in this drainage. So that's that person's fault because I've kept the spot quiet. I haven't shared the spot. And so we all have to be mindful that we all have this responsibility on our shoulders. It's not just everybody wants to put it on stuck and rut. Everybody wants to put it on these other influencers. We are all responsible. All of us are. We are all influencers. We're all responsible.
When everyone's super, nobody's super. Sorry, just had to do it. But when, yeah, seriously though, everyone does have the opportunity to influence for bad or for good.
Yeah.
That's not anything new. That's been since the beginning of the age of man that one has influenced another. And now we just have another medium of doing so that's online. And our hope is that when you when you listen to these podcast episodes, when you take a master class on 360 Sportsman and you go through these courses, that you will find that the influencers, however you want to put it, these influencer experts are going to help you learn the ethics, how to do things legally. They will not spot burn in their courses. There's not a single course. We have like, as of January 26th, there's 31 courses and there's over 1,500 lessons. And there's not a single episode or lesson that I can think of that does any kind of spot burning or dropping pins or trying to destroy an area. That's not the goal. The goal is to teach skills for wherever you are to do the things that you like to do and to do it in an efficient way so that you're not wasting time on YouTube, researching online. We encourage research and just know that this is a place where you can come and learn from industry experts. That we wouldn't bring these people on if they weren't vetted, if we didn't feel that they were trustworthy. We do not allow for anything like that on the platform. And as I tried to explain earlier, we have had people that have reached out either to teach master classes or to sell products that just wanted to do it for that kind of exposure, and that's not something that we want on the platform.
When I first started the master class, or before, when I first got introduced, this was before I ever met you. I had that mule deer and wolf one. An individual, and she was not a hunter. She was a gal who was into, building master classes. She brought this idea up to me. And the first thought that came through my head is if I share my hunting skills, I'm going to ruin hunting because everybody will know. And so it literally took me a year to ponder it, like a whole year. It was within like because I remember it was that winter. I remember it was that winter, and then the following winter, I was like, I came to terms with it, and I was like, let's try one. And what I have noticed is it's done positive things. So going back to people and contradicting themselves, a lot of hunters that are like what I consider skilled like me are very selective hunters. They want to pass up mule deer. They want to pass up elk. And then they're mad when somebody else doesn't do that. They're mad like, oh, so this guy killed a rag bull in the area I was hunting. That could have been a big bull someday. They're mad at that person, but yet they're upset that I'm trying to teach those people how to be selective and to let those young ones grow. Because someone who is not a good hunter is not going to be selective, right? Because they're going to shoot if you're not a good hunter, you're not going to risk a chance in letting a young one walk away. But when you gain the skills, you're going to let a big one walk. And that's what I learned. Like my hunting, in fact, has gotten better because a lot of the people that and I was like nervous about that too, because I'm like, some of the people I was seeing, the people that were purchasing my master classes, and these were people that were hunting the same mountain as me. I'm like, oh shoot. I was like getting a gut, and I'm like, oh no, they're going to hit. But I've actually found out that those people have actually been really good at being selective now. And they're like letting young ones walk. And it's only benefited the mountain because everybody's like, yeah, well, now they're also not following me around either, right? Which a lot of people that are inexperienced hunters are going to follow me around in the woods because they don't know where to hunt. But it's like, oh, like after they know how to hunt, you're going to be just focused on hunting the game, right? And so everybody's really respectful and giving, like a good hunter is respectful and giving me space. I give them space. Like, oh yeah, I'll go up this way, you go up that way. Like, and we'll never even see each other. There's people that I hunt, like there's guys that I bump in the woods that are skilled hunters, and I'll laugh because we hunt the same mountain, and I've never bumped into them in the woods because we hunt the mountain so differently because we have our own techniques, or perhaps we have the same techniques, but we're picking a different side of the mountain to hunt. But instead of thinking, oh, there's a secret little spot right here, which is typically what inexperienced hunters will do, they'll follow, oh, I heard a skill hunter hunts here, therefore I'm going to go to that same exact spot, right? And so what I'm saying is I've seen a benefit with it, and it has not hurt my hunting at all. And I think
Tom's referring to the online courses, like
the
he's seen a
online,
benefit from the master classes.
yeah. And then now, eventually, now that time has come, I met Taylor. It was actually one calendar year ago, so it was pretty much this same time of last year, and so what Taylor's helped me do is he helped me create more master classes, and we've upgraded the ones that I've already had. So it is on 360 Sportsman if you guys want to check it out. We didn't. I'm not trying to make this whole podcast a 360 Sportsman. Um,
We're trying to lay a foundation because we're going to be bringing tons of other experts on the show here to sit down in the lodge and have a
yeah,
conversation with us, and we'll also bring folks who are oppositional to us, and that I'm really interested in. Like, we would like to do some different kind of, not necessarily debates, but discussions here on the lodge of people who might disagree with us, so that you guys can hear some of these like debates. But yeah, definitely check out the master classes on 360 Sportsman. Tom has about 7 or 8 right now, and a couple more that are on the way, but 31 master classes as of early 2026 to go learn a
but
bunch of different skills.
just like you said, just like if you don't want to buy them, that's fine. You don't have to. That's all up to you. You just know that it's there, know that it exists, and if you feel like you've already got it, you're good at what you do, you're good elk hunter, you're good mule deer hunter, you don't need it, then you don't have to have it. But like I said, just know that it's there. But yeah, I mean that's just. I feel like we've covered a lot of really good things. I mean, like I said, we can go all day on this, but I think it's a good intro to our the way our podcast are going to be going on for now on. And again, just right before we wrap up, just like I just want to explain with people with the Stuck on Rut podcast that it's like, as you guys know, like we're on and off with it, but Taylor and I both are going to work on these podcasts, and so it's going to be kind of like a duo, like two hosts pretty much. And when we bring these people on, and so I feel like we're going to get a lot more. Um, it's going to be a lot more entertaining. I'm hoping, and we'll get some good people on. I've been working on trying to get someone who's has different opinions than me, especially with the wolf hunting. And I'm still working on that because some of these wolf activists, I'm not just assuming, but I'm like, I feel like they know they don't have a stand on what they're trying to promote. And I went to the biggest environmentalist companies. I said, I will give you a platform to speak at. And honestly, I won't even, all we're doing is just want to interview you. And they're absolutely refusing to. And so
Tom's putting the challenge out there.
I'm putting a challenge out there, and they don't want to have it. And so, but I want to get one on here soon. So stay tuned for it. We're excited about it.
Stay tuned for some good debates. It'll be fun.
Yeah, we want to do that. Bring some on, and I just like to have an honest discussion. Like I said, I'm all about hearing it from a different perspective. We all are. And but no, I'd say that's a wrap, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, thanks for listening, guys, and stay tuned for more episodes of The Lodge.